Good morning and welcome to another edition of the Daily Fix. I am your usual host and presenter, Advocate Tulo Hoyane. This morning, I would like to focus on Gininda. I would like to focus on Gininda and the prosecutor Baloyi and those who assist him Baloyi to prosecute this matter, or any other person who was involved either as an investigator, and for that I have Gininda, and the prosecutors, Baloyi included. I want to draw your attention to a very serious issue. Let us for one moment forget about the narrative that there were no intruders in that house. I have established over and over again that it is quite clear that there were no intruders in that house. 375 is the only credible docket that we can work on. Let us focus on 636 and put ourselves or wear Gininda's shoes, so to speak. Let us put ourselves in the position of those prosecutors and just think like them. Gininda conceded in court under cross-examination that Kelly Khumalo was a person of interest. He considered this, and this is very crucial, under cross-examination. This he did not disclose in his evidence in chief. So it was only when he was being questioned that he considered that Kelly Khumalo was a person of interest. Now, what is a person of interest? A person of interest is anybody who is connected to any particular crime under investigation. The police, when they undertake an investigation, will establish a person or persons of interest that they will then focus on and do their utmost to try and link that person or persons or people with the crime under investigation. So Gininda concedes that Kelly Khumalo was a person of interest. Remember, we are going by his own narrative that there were intruders in that house. We are holding him to his own narrative. Let us for one moment not dispute it. He says, in terms of that story that he relates, that Kelly Khumalo was a person of interest. He says, among other things, that he drew up an affidavit and tried to secure, in an effort to secure a J50 warrant of arrest for Kelly. And this is the lead prosecutor. This is rather the lead investigator. He's supposed to be the most senior investigator of this matter. And he says the J50 was not approved. Now, after he has drawn up this affidavit, Gininda has to approach the prosecutors, the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, to say, I have a person of interest here, and I would like to have that person arrested because of the following facts. Now, the facts that he had at his disposal, and this he has disclosed in court, were that Kelly Khumalo was the mastermind behind this crime, that he hired assassins and paid those assassins, and according to him, these are the assassins that we are now seeing in court. Let us just think the way he thinks. But the most interesting thing is, having identified Kelly Khumalo as a person of interest, why does Gininda then fail to have Kelly Khumalo arrested? This is a very, very crucial issue in the whole, in the entire manner into which the Senzo Meyiwa matter was investigated. In spite of the fact that you are the lead investigator and you have a person of interest, and that person of interest is not just one of the foot soldiers, she's just not another trigger puller. She is actually the mastermind. You identify the person who orchestrated it all. You then want us to believe that when you indicated that Kelly Khumalo was a person of interest, or a suspect in ordinary language, a suspect, a mastermind suspect, somebody who's so key to the whole investigation, you then, for some reason or another, do not follow that up and have that person arrested. Then you sort of shift the blame here. You see, Gininda tries to pass the buck to the prosecution. That, oh well, it was all up to the prosecutors. Now let us focus on the prosecutors that he talks about. Does it mean that the prosecutor, what kind of prosecutors are these? Does it mean that the prosecutors perused this affidavit, motivating the issuing of that warrant of arrest, and concluded otherwise? On what basis? On what basis would a prosecutor fail to assist the acquisition of a J50 warrant of arrest in respect of a suspect? A suspect, not just an ordinary suspect, a suspect who has apparently masterminded the whole thing. I just don't understand what was going on. Gininda owes South African explanation as far as this is concerned. And we are going by his own narrative. We are not even, we are just going with the logic that he puts before the court. Now, those prosecutors in Gininda have a lot to explain. Because you see, there was a docket 636 that was opened in 2014, shortly after Senzo was killed. That was hastily put together and came up with a theory that there had been intruders into that house. Having come up with that theory, the police took another 5 long years. Because there was apparently, and this is common cause, there was a lot of disagreement amongst the investigators, amongst the policemen, whether in fact there was or there were intruders into that house. So 5 years down the line, in 2019, the same police opened another docket that says, oh no, let us forget about 636. Let us forget about 636. There were no intruders here. The people in the house know something about this. You would have thought some progress would have been made from the position initially taken in 2014 that there were intruders into the house. And, now this other version that there were no intruders coming 5 years later. But when this matter comes to court, interestingly, what happens is 375 rather, the investigation that says there were no intruders into that house. The later docket, which comes 5 years later, is then abandoned. And the focus turns back to the 2014 docket. For what reason? For what reason? Now, I am saying I have been a legal practitioner for 30 plus years. This does not happen. This does not happen. A docket that fingers a mastermind is put before the court. This is what Gininda brings before the court. But he has the guts and the gumption to tell us that, oh, well, there were intruders into that house. They were sent by Kelly. But I was told never to touch Kelly. That is exactly what he's telling us in simple and plain language. I was just told to get away from Kelly and focus on the people that Kelly had hired to go and kill Meyiwa. This is nonsensical, to say the least. This is nonsensical, to say the least. It can never happen. There were probably other reasons. Why Gininda never arrested Kelly. If what he says can be trusted, that the decision was with the prosecutors, because he wants to tell us that, he tells us that this was a prosecution-driven investigation, then the prosecutors involved also have a story, also have an explanation to make. I just don't buy it. I don't buy the story that it was a prosecution-led investigation. What kind of prosecution-led investigation was this? Which does not prosecute the lead players implicated by the investigation into the death of Meyiwa. I don't understand that. So Gininda owes the people of South Africa an explanation. Because this conduct would clearly amount to defeating the ends of justice. It is an act, a deliberate act, to sabotage the administration of justice. Whether it was Gininda or the prosecutors, or Gininda and the prosecutors, it doesn't really matter. But one or the other, or both of them, were involved in something sinister here. And as I watched the proceedings unfold in court, I've never seen any of the lawyers take up this matter. Under cross-examination, to say to Gininda, in fact, Gininda, by so doing, by leaving out the mastermind, you actually committed the crime of defeating the ends of justice. And see how he would have reacted to that. Or you and the prosecutors are complicit, right, in the crime of defeating the ends of justice. Why was Kelly Khumalo not arrested? It was an act of defeating the ends of justice. Even by their own narrative. Remember, this is Gininda's own 636 narrative. He falls flat on his head. He falls flat on his head, on his own version, Having said that, I'm looking at, various aspects of the evidence, and I'll be analyzing it for you. This is the beginning. We'll go back to those narratives by Kelly and Longwe and all the others. But focus has shifted a little bit now to what is transpiring in court and what you ought to know. So Gininda and the prosecutors, I am throwing the book at you, so to speak. You defeated the ends of justice here. If you didn't, I don't know what this is called. But I call it defeating the ends of justice. by your own admission, coming out of your own mouth. Right? You are convicting yourself with your own mouth. The words are yours. The words are yours. Under cross-examination, this is what you consider. Thank you for watching this video. Please continue to watch my videos and please continue to subscribe. The subscriptions are very encouraging and so are the views. And have a nice day.